Text line, phone 913-408-7957. Fascinating conversation with KU student Sarah Green, who was monitoring the protests that were taking place yesterday at KU. I can't help but think, what a bunch of losers. Just what a bunch of losers. That's all you can say. Naive losers is really what they are. They do not know what they're talking about at all. 913-408-7957. The phone number thing fascinates me, too. They invited you into the encampment. They handed you a mask, by the way. They wrote a phone number on your arm if you are willing to get arrested. Brent's in Kansas City. Brent, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Pete.
What's going on, man?
Well, this is identical to my experience with Black Lives Matter stuff back in 2014 after Ferguson, and then going forward. So it just pairs right in line with what I did. So I was an undercover detective back at the time with KCMO, and we were going into these underground meetings to get into with those groups and figure out what disruptions and social disruptions they were going to do. And in those meetings, in these basements of churches all throughout Kansas City, they were kind of recruiting us as little white anarchist kids to cause disruption. And part of it was they would give us a number for a particular bondsman that they wanted us to use and a particular lawyer that they wanted us to use if we got arrested. And during the riots and the protests that we were being part of, and so they were recruiting us to do it, and that's what the number was that we got written on our arms for that. And they also, you had a color code. So we needed so many green and we needed some yellows and reds. So green meant absolutely 100%. Whatever I need to do, I will get arrested so that I can be a stat number to say the police arrested me during this. The yellow was a maybe, and a red was a absolutely not. I'm not going to go to jail. So that's kind of how this sounds identical to that. And I don't know the stuff that's going on at KU, but it sounds identical. And they flew a lawyer in from Cincinnati to come talk to us and coach us through exactly what to do and what to say. And the whole thing was completely organized on a national way to do it.
Wow. Now, as someone who was undercover at the time, did you ever figure out who the folks were who were pulling the strings on this whole thing?
So we passed all of our stuff on to the FBI that was tracking all of that. So I don't know what exactly, but we knew the players and the names of those people. The lady was a lawyer out of Cincinnati. It was an ACLU type, civil rights lawyer who was, tied in directly with Black Lives Matter on that one. So
it was very carefully coordinated.
100%. These meetings would last 2 and 3 hours where they were coaching all of us up. And again, I was my cover was to be an anarchist kid, and there was a bunch of us in there in that room too that were actual, of these bad actors. And it was hours long of meetings and coaching sessions to prod us on to do exactly what they wanted us to do.
How were they recruiting you? Because social media was still kind of new at the time.
That's how actually I got into that group. Was I had several fake Facebook pages, and we caught wind of it because we were trying to monitor as much of that stuff that was going on in the wake of the Michael Brown shooting. So once we got it, it was one of those where you start messaging the people on the Facebook, and then you got invited to the first meeting, and then you get invited to the next one. And then as the protests were happening, and we were walking in line with them, infiltrated in the protest.
Yeah.
The more that we got to do it, the more that we were given. But they were really careful not to give even directions or exactly where to be. They would call you within an hour and say, "Hey, we need you at 31st and Broadway, and now we'll meet here, and then we'll go try to hike down and block I-35." So they were being real secretive. So who those players were that were making those, I wasn't privy onto that.
Yeah. Were the local people that you dealt with, were they Kansas Cityans, or were they people from out of town who were just trying to recruit Kansas Cityans and get all the big cities to get involved in this stuff?
The recruiters were definitely out of town, but the people that were, we were being coached up were mostly local folks.
Wow. Man, Brent, that is a great job. Thank you for sharing that here on KCMO.
Yeah, my pleasure, Pete.
Have a great day.
Buddy.
Thank you, man. That is, wow, unbelievable. some other folks had texted in about the armband thing as well. So I'd seen some of that where these organized events, like these protests on these college campuses, George Floyd protests in 2020, sounds like Brent was dealing with that post-Ferguson as well 10 years ago now. The phone number is written on the arms, and it's used during the protest. They have a bondsman set, ready to bond you out, lawyer to call if you get arrested, and it was all set up beforehand with color-coded armbands. That is unbelievable.
You could see some of those this morning with the UCLA, too. They put the zip ties on kids, and I was looking and go, well, they got a lot of bracelets on. They go out clubbing last night or what?
So really, you could see that on the UCLA
I could see an
kids.
orange one on a UCLA kid. It's one of those temporary ones you get when you go to a function or event, a day-long thing at the air shows or what have you, and they might just wrap a new color around you for the day, just those stick ones.
Wow.
I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if you went clubbing. I thought, why would you have one of those?
Wow. So it's just carefully coordinated. I think it's, wow. I'm blown away. Not that it's not a surprise to any of us, right? We lived through 2020. You think 2020 was just organic? That was as coordinated of a protest in the wake of George Floyd getting killed as you're going to find all over the country. And a lot of it was like, yes, young anarchists, not necessarily just people who are peacefully protesting whatever their passion is of the day, even if they're factually inaccurate about police brutality. It's not just organic. And it's funded by somebody. I mean, you can easily throw out Soros' name, but I think it goes deeper than that and more broadly than just one individual. And that clearly is in part what's happening here. And it makes you wonder what's in store for the rest of the year. Listen, man, we're not even to Memorial Day. Right? It's just starting to get warm out. You've got an election year. You've got a lot of time over the next 7 months for this kind of chaos to unfold. And if they're willing to sow discord and create chaos on behalf of a terrorist organization like Hamas, and that's effectively what they're doing here, then who knows where it can lead. Man, it's going to be a fascinating next 7 months. And I hate to put it this way, but geez, Donald Trump wins. Just wait. Just wait. Not going to be pretty, I don't think, there in some of these cities. Wow.
Well, if we just had prosecutors making arrests, I'm sure these organizations, it's almost like dealing with a terrorist group overseas, right? You want to get to the leadership or the management level and start confining those people, and I think we'd see a reduction in some of the activities.
I think so, too, there, John. I think so, too. All right. We're going to get to what's going on the Missouri side of the state line. Mark, I hate to do it on the air. You said 2 minutes, right? At the top. Okay. So we're going to talk to, coming up next, we will have on Bill Eigel, Missouri State Senator. He led the way on a 40-hour filibuster in Jeff City. A lot of the Jeff City minutia is beyond boring. That's why I don't spend nearly as much time on it as some people do in this state who worked in the legislature. They think everyone cares. Most people don't.